Whither are we drifting? It's time for Must Have Seen TV, the podcast dedicated to the sitcoms of the 20th century, from I Love Lucy all the way to news radio. I'm your TV guide, Barb Hardley. And when I'm in boy drag, I'm Brett White, and I'm a reporter producer for Decider.com. Say hello to the Maynard, to my lady Dobie, Ethan K. Hi, Ethan.
Hello, Barb. Oh my gosh.
Hi.
I feel honored. I'm get to be the Maynard.
Yeah.
Maynard is Maynard. You're gonna find out in our recap of the Dobie Gillis episode. The big question: how awesome Maynard G. Krebs is.
Oh wow. And
So I feel honored. This is an honor.
And I'm Lady Dobie, which is not a thing.
Why not?
No, yeah. Why if there's a Lady Bullseye, there should be a Lady Dobie Gillis.
Dobie is not a gendered name.
No, it's not a name. I don't think it's a name. But yes. So where are we? Well, first of all, compliment my beauty. I'm in drag.
You're fantastic. And you know what? That necklace looks really familiar. Did we?
Oh, it does. Yes, I went up to upstate to visit Ethan and his wife, and we went vintage shopping. I wanted to buy a lovely vintage gown, but that didn't happen. But I did buy some nice jewelry and a retro, very Marcia Carol Brady top and skirt set that I'll probably wear next week for the 70s episode. But this is the 60s, and so I'm very diamonds are a drag queen's best friend, fake diamonds.
Your eye work is really good there too.
I know. I'm very honestly go back to the first episode of this era when Barb made her debut, and I wasn't doing drag back then. I'm doing drag right now.
You are doing the drag, which is to say a lot. You were doing drag before, and now you are.
I know. I'm coming into my own more. I'm very proud of my makeup. I'm developing a signature beat for my mug.
Yeah. This is an encouragement to everyone to watch our YouTube channel, because you can see all of this actually visibly with your eye.
Trust me, I'm beautiful. And also, while you're at YouTube, you should visit Barb Hardley's YouTube page, because I've been doing some videos about This Is the Army for my book project. I've done, and the most important one being, I have debuted 17 actual photographs that have never been seen before, literally from World War II. Imagine that, World War II photos that have never been seen. These are from Justice Addis, Hayden Rourke's partner. He took them during World War II. He mailed the physical copies to his father in World War II, and then they sat in the Addis family drawer for 80 years. Until I reached out to them, and now they're part of the New York Historical Society's collection.
They ended up in a good home,
which is super cool that happened. And so now that they're there, I've debuted 17 of the 130. So please, you can also just search for Hayden and Jess. This Is the Army love story is that video. It's also all over all my socials, so etc.
What do you think the best photograph or the coolest photograph was?
I mean,
from that stack.
This will be a must-have seen TV YouTube viewers exclusive, but
Ooh.
I have it framed on my desk.
It is Hayden and Jess. Hayden is smoking a pipe. He looks like he's not. Is he wearing a shirt?
He's not wearing a shirt because they're on a battle cruiser outside of the Philippines.
Jess is wearing what looks like a white t-shirt, and it looks like studio photography.
Yeah, I mean, they're both looking in opposite directions, but they're next to each other. It's a beautiful photo, and honestly, I'm keeping this one mostly under wraps because I feel like it's a book cover. It's also the first image that Hayden's sister-in-law, Jess's sister-in-law, sent me. She was like, "Oh, we have these photos," and she sent me a grainy photo of that photo, and I was just like, "Oh my god!"
Sometimes it's like that.
It's just great.
The stars align, and you get something really cool coming across your field of vision, and it is it's the neatest thing. I have nothing that compares to that.
Yeah.
I think. What are you watching these days, Barb? There's a lot of TV happening, a lot of new shows, old shows.
Lord, I mean, I good God. I mean, I'm just like running through. I mean, Columbo. I've talked about Columbo on there. I'm still watching Columbo. Um and I'm also watching Murder She Wrote. And last night I watched an episode of Columbo and Murder She Wrote with about 10 years in between them. And Robert Culp was in both. So, you gotta love it.
The only time I've ever seen Robert Culp, well, he's passed away now, was a New York Comic Con where he
Oh,
was tabling next to William Catt, who I
okay.
love, big fan of William Catt. And I went over and I didn't have anything for him to sign. I didn't have anything. I just wanted to talk to him and say hello. And I started talking to William Catt, and he was the nicest, most like friendly person. He just glommed on. He was just talking about Greatest American Hero, talking about House, talking about the remakes of House and the sequels. And he was the nicest guy. And I just remember Robert Culp sitting there just angry that no one was talking to him. But I ended up getting a picture with William Catt that I used for my credit card for a number of years because Wells Fargo lets you put your like different photos. And unfortunately, not only do I not have any of those credit cards anymore because I had destroyed them all, I can't find the photo.
Oh
I
no.
can't find the photo. And it's like there are only a couple convention photos of me with celebrities. And
Wells
that is
Fargo should have that on file.
they told me, they're like, sorry, you have to send in a new picture because we do not have access to this photo. And the one I ended up using was me and Henry Winkler.
Okay, well there you go. Yeah.
I still have it.
About the same thing. No.
Yeah.
What are you watching? Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a good answer to that. So
Well,
yeah.
you're watching some old stuff. I'm watching some new stuff. The new Perry Mason is
yeah.
just a joy to watch. Not that it is a fun show, not that it is a light romp. It is a dark and twisted retelling of Perry Mason, but it is riveting. Honestly, it is so engaging. When I found out that the second season was airing, I was counting down the days for it to come out. So
wow,
get a chance. The first season starts off with a bang and it's not what you expect for the first 3/4 of it. And then second season, it picks up pretty much right where it left off. It is choice TV.
Okay. Hearty recommendations.
Hearty recommendation. I don't think there's a show that I could recommend higher.
Oh wow. Well, now that Poker Face is over.
Now the Poker Face, I would say that Mandalorian comes in at least a second to.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
This season is I don't know what the vibe is different.
I haven't watched today's episode. I've been
that speaks to the vibe.
Well, it's more that Megan is traveling. So I can't watch anything that we both watch just by myself. So I'm watching, goofy stuff that I like while I'm doing some chores and things like that. And she doesn't listen to this podcast, so she's not going to know that I ate a whole bunch of fried chicken for dinner, and I probably shouldn't have, but I don't care because I'm feeling good.
There's a Popeyes like a couple blocks away, and you best believe I go to that Popeyes. It's a new Popeyes, and so it has like the new fast casual interior design, so I enjoy that. But yeah, and then I don't think we have any comments to read. I know we've been off and on, mostly off for a little while. It's because your girl had a lot going on. I think you
see also Tennessee.
Yeah. Oh my, yeah. That is fun. I would love to I would love to be able to do drag in Tennessee, my home state, at some point. But if I do, I only have eight or 9 more days until it's considered a felony. If a child sees me, if a child sees this, now I understand that this is traumatizing because just look at me, but it isn't the bad kind of trauma. It's not. I don't.
Now, is this show going to be banned on YouTube in Tennessee?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know
how many children watch this show. How many children want to hear about Dobie Gillis?
Dobie Gillis. If it was me as a child, I would be like, because yeah. So yeah, well, let's go on and jump into it. This week we're traveling to January 24th, 1961. Swiss Family Robinson ruled the box office. Wonderland by Night by Burt Kaempfert topped the charts, and CBS aired the Many Loves of Dobie Gillis episode, The Big Question. Ethan, you must have seen The Big Question before today.
Alas, I have not. But I do remember Dobie Gillis quite well. It was on Nick at Night at a time where I was watching Nick at Night. And I remember especially the Thinker statue, which is one of the hallmarks, is that when Dobie talks to the camera in every episode, he does it in front of a copy of Rodin's The Thinker in a park setting.
You gotta put the fist on the chin, and I'm a thinker. Hey.
And I do remember that it was very well written, and this episode especially was perhaps even overwritten, but it was very, very well written.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the good things about the show, was that you did get breaking the fourth wall, which is something that not everybody did, especially at the time. I mean, this was 1961. TV had only been around for like 13 years.
Yeah. Well, and also just it being kids, like teens.
Yeah.
Because that's also revolutionary, because at this time, if you're a teen on a TV show, you are the oldest child of a dad who always knows everything. And maybe you get an episode once or twice a season, but mostly you're there to like, I gotta go to the dance. I gotta take my little brother's shoe shopping. Like, it's, there's nothing
and
fun.
Dobie Gillis also had one of the best second bananas in TV sitcom history in Maynard G. Krebs, played by Gilligan himself, Bob Denver.
The original Urkel, in that I do believe he takes over the show.
He does.
When you get to those later seasons, it is basically just Maynard's show.
It became like, so the show is based on short stories by Max Schulman. There was something that was big back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, which were college humor magazines.
Yeah.
It wasn't college humor like the website now. It was just a genre of essay writing that was very loose. It was very free. S.J. Perlman, who's one of my favorite authors, I have all of his first editions. Ha ha ha.
Well, is that also what kind of a crisp, like a Gene? Oh God, Gene Shepard. Wait, is that the name?
Gene Shepard. Yeah, Gene Shepard. Robert Benchley was like that. Like, there were a lot of those. Groucho Marx would show up in a lot of these. There were magazines that were published every month, and different writers would have different pieces, and it had this very young, youthful, quote unquote, college flair. So Max Schulman did a bunch of short stories. He was an author. He did kind of a failed script writer. The only thing that I looked him up. The only thing that he did that I'd heard of was The Tender Trap, starring Frank Sinatra and Debbie Reynolds, and I only know that because I like the song. Love Tender Trap. But fast forward a couple of years, 1953, they decide to make a movie out of the short stories, and it's called The Affairs of Dobie Gillis. It stars Bobby Van, Debbie Reynolds again, and Mr. Bob Fosse, one of his few television roles. And it sucked. It was kind of a forgotten show. Like, if it wasn't for the fact that they turned it in the same short stories into a TV show later, everyone would have forgotten this movie, and then revisited again when Bob Fosse became the great choreographer and director.
Yeah.
So the TV show stems out of these short stories. It stars Dwayne Hickman as Dobie Gillis, and unfortunately he passed away last year.
Yeah, last year.
But he was Dwayne Hickman. If you see Dobie Gillis pictures, he's got the buzz cut, blonde. He used to be a child actor. I'm going through some of the notes I have here. He was in movies. You might have seen The Boy with Green Hair or Mighty Joe Young.
That's a movie?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, are you talking about SLC Punk?
But he got his big break playing the second banana. Not the second banana. He played a kind of a child in the Bob Cummings show, which was just another one of those
I'm a dad and I know everything, so shut up, kids shows.
Bob Cummings also was one of the three hosts for the Disneyland opening day television special, along with Art Linkletter and the 40th president of the United States, Ronald Reagan.
Oh, nice.
I'm
I
just
guess.
bashing you over the head with some trivia. Ha
Well,
ha.
also Ronald Reagan, star of This Is the Army, a movie where a whole bunch of soldiers do drag for Uncle Sam to raise money to fight Nazis, and it was fine.
Did he
So
do drag?
no, no, and also most of the soldiers hated the movie version because they got an actor to lead it. They got
Oh,
not a soldier. They got a fancy actor like Ronald Reagan to do it.
Ronald
So,
Reagan.
uh, I also think listeners should keep in mind that the Scooby Doo quartet are based on the Dobie Gillis core cast, which we don't see either of the ladies in this episode, I don't think.
No,
But
this was
Dobie
virtually
is
like,
this
I
is a
want to
two-hander.
sorry, we're talking over
I
each other.
say Dobie is essentially Fred, and Maynard is Shaggy, and then the little I'm gonna say it, the little lesbian
Sheila Cool.
is Velma, and we
Zelda,
love
she played Zelda
Zelda.
Gilroy.
Yeah, and Sheila is now a politician in California, I do believe.
Yeah, she's had multiple runs. She was
Work.
state assembly and then I think state senate.
And she's not in this episode. And then there's a attractive, I guess, Dobie's girlfriend character.
That could have been Talia Menninger, played by Tuesday Weld.
Hmm.
Tuesday Weld is still alive.
Oh,
Dwayne Hickman unfortunately passed away, and Bob Denver passed away, I want to say back in the early 90s. I remember he made the news because he got some marijuana delivered to his house and he got arrested for it. Now it's, it's all legal and he wouldn't have even made the papers.
if anyone should be able to get marijuana delivered, it is Maynard J. Krebs.
I believe he paid a fine. Maynard G. Krebs.
Yeah.
Which fun fact, he went to college with Dwayne Hickman.
Oh.
So they knew each other before then. They both went to Loyola. Bob Denver did a little bit of teaching, and then he auditioned for this role and got it, and it changed his whole career. Changed his whole life.
It is also crazy that he has two iconic sitcom roles where the second one is the one that everyone remembers him for.
Yeah.
But like if Gilligan had never come along, he would still be like, oh yeah, that guy Maynard, that was a good character. He wasn't as like big of a cultural impact, but he was like the sitcom representation of the beatnik. Like he was that trope.
Which is the first time it was on TV.
Yeah, like so he had and then he became a little twink first mate to a bear captain. That's what that was, right?
That's the whole point of the show, right?
Yeah.
It was a Yogi Boo Boo situation.
I feel like I like never, this was on Nick at Night when I was a kid, and I never really watched it that often. But I was aware of it. I think like when it was one of the ones that when it would come on, I would either change the channel or that's when like I go somewhere else. Like that is just I just didn't really watch it.
A lot of people remember it for the character played by Warren Beatty.
Oh.
Warren Beatty was kind of Dobie's rival.
Oh, you mean Dick Tracy?
Dick Tracy, I'm sorry. The actor formerly known as Warren Beatty, now Dick Tracy only. No, he played Milton Armitage, who's kind of the rich, snobby kid, but he was only in 5 episodes. Oh. So it's kind of like a lot of people remember him from the show, but he was only in 5 episodes.
That's wild. Yeah, so this week on Must Have Seen TV, we'll be talking about the Many Loves of Dobie Gillis episode, The Big Question. It is the 14th episode of season 2, and it was written by Max Schulman and Joel Kane and directed by Rod Amato. Here's how Freevee describes the episode. Dobie and Maynard approach graduation from high school, and Mr. Pomfret assigns them to write an essay entitled, Whither Are We Drifting? Ethan, how accurate is that description?
It's 100% accurate.
That is it.
It was Mr. Pomfret all along.
That is all that happens in the episode.
Now, if you remember back to our Patty Duke episode, the father is played by William Schallert. And in this episode, in the whole series, the teacher, Mr. Pomfret, is also played by William Schallert. He was a TV sitcom legacy, in his entire life. He did not stop acting. He was also the president of SAG. I just keep throwing out so much trivia.
But he seems like a good guy. I liked him.
Yeah.
Handsome, bespectacled, distinguished gentleman, sugar daddy, maybe,
Oh my
huh?
gosh. Are you
Huh?
talking about me and my
No.
spectacles? My
uh,
Vincent Price t-shirt?
so yeah, the episode opens with him assigning all of them their last assignment before graduation. This is halfway through the season though, so I don't know. Are they just like back in high school and don't? That's the weird thing about episodic. Is
I,
I don't know
you know,
where this falls.
I don't know how it falls, but I know what happens is that they eventually graduate and
Yeah.
go in and spoilers, because this entire episode is them figuring out what to do with their life. And at the end, they don't come up with any answers. In the show, they do end up going into the army, which it's weird, this is Dobie Gillis, now an army show. And then after a couple episodes, they went back, they on GI Bill, they went to college. So
Okay.
once again, it was the school classroom kind of life.
So the essay that he assigns all of them to write is he just proposes a question: whither are we drifting? Which I'm really glad he explained what the hell that means, because I was like, I don't understand what you are saying. Which, I mean, I think that this actually was kind of a phrase, because I searched all newspapers from 1960, like beforehand. I just typed in the phrase in quotes, whither are we drifting? And like a couple of like hits came up of like, it seemed like it was kind of a stock, maybe like a stock icebreaker type question, or it's like that kind of thing. But it is one of those like, oh man, we talk real dumb nowadays kind of moments.
The assignment is a 250 word essay, and
like Jesus Christ. Like
same thing.
250 words is absolutely nothing. I
Okay,
sneezed 250 words.
We are totally in agreement, because my last class in grad school, the professor assigned us 250 to 300 word essays every week. And that's like a paragraph and a half when you're writing like biblical literature, like essays. And by the end of it, he realized this, and he just says, you know what? I probably should have made them longer, like 500 words.
Which even that, I'm like, okay. Like, I can crank out a 2,000 word reaction essay to anything in 30 minutes. Like, yeah. That's just a skill that I have with my job. So at the end where they're like 250 words, I'm like, that's my opening paragraph. I don't, whatever. Wild. But yeah, so he's assigning all of them that. But so the cold open ends with him being like, I'm looking forward to these as well. You're the next generation of great thinkers and scientists and scholars. And then in comes Maynard G. Krebs. He says, you rang.
And then he drops, he does some physical comedy and drops his whole lunch all over the floor, which included a whole bunch of sausages.
And then the opening credits like play over him just fumbling, trying to get it up.
Yeah. And that's the opening, because we kind of got the little bit of we set up the premise for the entire episode, is that the entire class has to think of this. So
yeah. The episode starts proper with a like narration scene with Dobie in front of the Thinker statue. I wrote that he's wearing a nice little like pop over kind of button down shirt. Just some nice 50s fashion in this.
Maynard doesn't want to leave. He doesn't want to leave college. He says
like it's like what 3 years in 12th grade. He's like,
yeah, he says the best 3 years I've ever spent.
But this was shot interestingly, because the camera was stationary. It would like cut to the teacher talking, and then it would cut back, and Maynard would stand up into the frame, talk, and then sit back down, but the camera wouldn't follow him. It would stay stationary. And then he would stand up back into it again and talk. Like, that's one of many interesting direction touches that you just didn't see on television back then.
I liked it. I thought it was that it just showed that he didn't have to keep getting up and down, but he did. And that became its own little side gag. And I like that a lot.
Yeah. And so all the students are now like, dipping into their thesis statements, just talking about it. One of the ladies who I thought was Patty Duke for a hot second, but she was not. The character's like Mrs. Millhauser or something.
Betty Jean Millhauser. I don't know how
Yes.
many episodes she was in, but what does she want out of life?
A fella, just like me.
Well, where are you going to go? Where are you going to go in life, Betty Jean?
Well, I'm going to go anywhere where there's a fella, like
That's
maybe college, maybe
Just
a construction site, maybe a penal colony.
Barb, what kind of those three places, where would you rather find a gentleman?
I'd go to a saloon.
That was a fourth place. That's a fourth
Yep.
location. You just ruined my
When
question.
you zig, I zag. Right into a saloon door.
That's where Vice begins, Barb, at the saloon door.
That's where my life goes. I don't know. Yeah, so it's that wait, someone like it sounds like an easy question, but it is not.
It is not an easy question. It's something that is shared by literally there are four people who talk in this entire scene: the teacher, Betty Jean, Dobie, and Krebs.
So whither are you drifting?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
250 words.
I was gonna say I don't know if I can do it in 250 words. I am working at an ad agency, and I'm going to keep doing that until I win the lotto. But in the meantime, I am going to grad school for theology. And once I graduate with that, I either go for my doctorate or just keep going and writing and publishing stuff like that. And that's me happy for the rest of my life.
Oh, my God.
But Barb, whither are you? Wait, what the hell's the line? I did.
Whither are
you drifting?
Well, I mean, you have all that going on, and I'm hoping that I can dress like a woman in front of strangers at a bar sometime. That would be nice.
Remember the good old days? God.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out how to perform live in drag, which is hard. And I got a book. Oh, my light went out. Well, that's fine. I got a book that is actually getting closer to traction, so that is good. Which I won't talk about now, but at some point I will. So I'm drifting all over the place. It's like I'm Tokyo drifting, baby.
Maybe you'll drift out of New York. I don't know.
Would I drift to? Okay, I'm trying to plug my light back in.
It's okay. We can still see you.
Okay, I mean, as long as yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I mean, LA, who knows?
LA.
Or just anywhere. I mean, getting uptown was nice. God.
Yeah.
Upstate. But yeah, so like this is a interesting I mean, it's a very like the teacher doesn't have anything planned for the last 6 weeks of school, and he's like, just whither are you drifting? Oh. Like 250 words, because I don't want to read that much.
250 words on what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yes, essentially. But Maynard suggests, why don't we just go to the movies? And then he like lists all of these movies.
I wrote them all down.
Yeah, I copied them from IMDb. Go for it.
It's The Monster Who Devoured Cleveland. Followed, the second feature is Attila and His Merry Men. The third one is Space Dentist. The third is John Dillinger. The fourth is John Dillinger, American. And the sixth and seventh are Gone with the Wind.
Which, like, honestly, I have a lot of nostalgia, and I long to live in a lot of other decades. And honestly, in some ways, thank you, Tennessee's legislature, for actually making my desire to live in another time not frivolous. Like, it's like, oh, no. Actually, the 70s seem fine. So anyway,
one of the little gags though that did come up is Monster Who Devoured Cleveland comes up a lot in this show. Anytime,
oh really?
Anytime Maynard wants to go see a movie, Monster Who Devoured Cleveland is playing, or Son of Monster Who Devoured Cleveland.
But like, so like this made me kind of jealous of just like, oh yeah, like just you get like a nickel and you just go to the movie theater and there's just a fuck ton of horrible movies playing. It's like going and being like, oh man, it's gonna be Megan, followed by Cocaine Bear, followed by, just like that seems like a lot of fun, followed by Plane. I saw that. That was fun.
Plane?
Yeah, it's the new Gerard Butler and oh god, Mike Coulter action movie. Most of it doesn't take place on a plane.
Oh,
Go fig, but it is really funny. It's really fun. But it's like that sounds like a fun kind of afternoon or day, like I've never lived in a time where one could do that. Because it's always been expensive.
I did it once, but I did it illegally.
Yes. There was I was never brave enough. I also didn't have a lot of friends that would do that with me.
I did it with my friend, fellow lawbreaker Justin Weinberger.
Yeah,
the author Justin Weinberger. We watched. I can only remember two of the movies we watched. We watched Shrek and we watched Evolution and we watched a third one. But we did spend an entire day theater hopping. When one was done, what's next? Okay, we'll go to that one. And we watched 3 movies at once. That's the only time I've ever done it. And I'm not going to tell you where, so you can't arrest me. And the statute of limitations is this was 25 years ago. I don't even know when it was. Whenever Shrek came out.
So then, Dobie is like, well, we're not going to go to the movies. We're going to think. And then Maynard points to the thinker and is like, oh, we're going to think like that naked cat.
That naked cat.
That naked cat. Yeah. So then they start thinking.
In the pose. Maynard gets in the pose.
But then like the whole thing is like you got to have a plan. And then so this is where the episode gets like existential and like it becomes very much like you're at a black box theater. And the two like Maynard is saying there are a lot of things I want to do, but like they won't let you do it. The man, won't let you, etc.
He spells it out: the mother, the father, and the teacher cats at school.
Yeah. And Dobie says that like, no, they're captains of their own fate. They can like make their own decisions. But as he's saying this, a stereotypical Irish cop is walking up behind them.
Officer Dugan, because Maynard is eating peanuts and throwing the shells on the ground.
Yes.
And in one shot, you can see someone, a street sweeper, talking to the cop and pointing to Maynard because he's making his job harder.
Well, and also while they're doing this, they are walking through what is clearly the backlot of whatever studio they were filming on, but they've like kind of done it up to look like a street. And it's just a really interesting, like at one point, and it might be after this, but like they climb up on top of like a platform.
Yeah,
and then they stand up. It looked like a roof, but like it wasn't really.
It looked like a flatbed truck to me.
But like they climb up on that and then stand up off screen, so you're just seeing their legs. Like the camera again stays stationary, and you're seeing their legs walk down the slope until they then jump off of the little like ledge roof thing
as they continue to talk.
Which is just like again like a lot of very interesting directing choices. And I will say I watched some Dobie Gillis Christmas episodes over the holiday season, so that's like the most I've seen of it recently. But all of those really did surprise me because I have an idea of what I think shows from this era are like, and Dobie Gillis is unlike all of those. It is like this weird like island of smart writing, believable characters, and also just like youth. Which it's really weird.
And I don't think it could be made today. I don't think it could be.
Yeah. Well, because nowadays kids Dobie's age are in a multicam sitcom and they're mugging to the camera.
Or you have a conceit that you have to kind of like tie yourself to, it's the dad's a cop and the kids are all,
this is he's just a kid.
It's just the life of a kid and his own little philosophies.
Almost like nothing remarkable about him. The many loves, that isn't even a part of this episode.
He dates. Yeah, this is an episode that has maybe 5 or 6 people with lines.
Yeah.
The entire thing. This is also apparently one of the few episodes where they go actually outside to a location.
Yeah.
The rest of it's all sets. But
it's really interesting.
this was a suggested episode.
Oh, yes, I forgot. Thank you, the televisionary ZW on Twitter.
Thank you very much. This was a recommended episode from them, and I was into it, and then I saw the IMDb page when it had only like 6 people. I'm like, okay, so it doesn't have some of the main characters like Tuesday Weld that people remember from this. And then when I watched it today, and I'm like, this is an amazing episode. It's well written. It's really philosophical. It's really good. And I said, Brett and I are going to have a really hard time doing this because it's not action and then this happens and then that ensues. It's a lot of conversations.
It's a lot of character work. I mean, like,
yeah,
the entire time also Maynard, every time that they walk past a phone, Maynard sticks his hand in to see if he can get any money out of all of the coin return slots.
Yeah.
And that doesn't. Okay, see, this is where you actually get the TV analytical, because it's like, well, that doesn't pay off. It's not a joke. It doesn't really. But it's like, wait, but is that low key Maynard G. Krebs's unspoken plan for life is to go about his business, and whenever he can, like, oh, hey, I could maybe get some money right now. No, okay, fine, that's fine. Like, it's a very, but like, that's not the explicit statement, but that's like a kind of thing that you could write a paper on. It's like, yeah. It's really interesting.
It's something that happens that doesn't drive the action, but it's also amazing character work. It's like, what do you do to this guy who's obviously a freeloader who doesn't want to do any work? This is just
he looks for money.
Yeah, a little thing that you got to add to the character.
And so like this, so after the cop comes, and that ends the little segment about whether or not they determine their fate. Then we get into.
But wait, did you hear? You have to remember what the officer said, because he says you can go out and do anything. When then they said, well, can we go to the park?
Oh, right.
No, it's closed for a picnic in the park. Well, can we go to the playground? Well, no, the playground's closed for construction. And they're like, okay. He's like, but you can go anywhere else, but don't hang out on the corner. So that the obvious symbolism is, yes, you have the ability to go wherever you want, but you do not have the permission to go any of those places.
Yeah. Well, and then Maynard's like, all I need are like sleep, donuts, and jazz. And then that leads us into like the next little bit, which is about like the fleeting interests that you have in, like, they're not done developing yet. Like, Maynard is convinced, I'm going to love jazz for the rest of my life. And Dobie keeps bringing up, well, you were really into like, what was one of them, a pony racing treehouse stilts? You had thousands of marbles. Like,
raising guppies. You built a soapbox racer. And then Maynard just like, oh, that's kids stuff.
Yeah. And that's, so what Dobie is talking about in this section is how this paper is essentially saying, like, you're going to grow up. You are going to leave the childish things behind, which is a notion that does not exist anymore. I say, as a 38-year-old man who is dressed as a woman talking to a guy who's older than me by a couple of years in a Vincent Price t-shirt.
Tomorrow. My birthday is tomorrow, 43.
Oh, happy. Yeah. Happy pre-birthday. But like, it is this, we no longer have, our version of growing up is different and more nebulous, and something that I am constantly grappling with, because I want to be I want to be a man. Like, I want to be an adult man. Like,
you want to be recognized by the public as an adult.
Yeah, and that doesn't happen. Which is why I dress the way that I do when I am not wearing a dress.
Yeah.
Which is why I wear ties, and just because I want to project, because inside I still feel like a 12-year-old and I don't know what's going on, but I am constantly trying to project that I do. Whereas in the 50s and 60s, once you hit 18 or the job force, you were given the uniform. Yeah. So you just, adult looked like one way, and at the stifling of your own creativity, at your own interests.
I gotta say, like, I feel that I was more grown up and adult when I was just out of college. I was living with a girlfriend in North Carolina. I had to go into an office, my first real office job, where it wasn't like today where you can wear jeans. I still had to wear
Oh yeah.
shirts and button-down shirts and khaki pants to go into the office every day. My hobbies were performance and watching DVDs. Like I wasn't collecting comic books. I wasn't playing music. I wasn't doing all the things that I do now as,
Yeah.
almost twice as old.
And it's interesting that like the episode is saying something about this where like I don't know, maybe it's from the benefit of decades passing and we from a modern perspective can look and be like, man, it's shitty that Dobie is telling Maynard in a way, well, you're not going to be able to like jazz and donuts in a couple of years because you have to be an adult. And like I like that's shitty. That
Yeah.
like back in the day, becoming an adult meant, putting away childish things,
Right.
even if they do bring you joy. But then also I've spent hundreds and thousands of dollars on Marvel Legends figures this year alone. So I don't know.
But think about the people who are making all those things possible for Maynard. So an adult has to make the donuts. Adults are playing jazz music. Adults are working record stores and making records. All those things are facilitated by adults for entertainment by young people and adults. Dobie asks, Dobie says something like, "You're not going to be a member of the Beat Generation forever," and he's like, "No, I'll always be a member of the Beat Generation."
Which he will. I mean,
but then Dobie says, "Well, what does that even mean? Define Beat Generation." And which is funny because in the news these days, a whole bunch of conservative commentators are being asked, "Well, can you define what woke is?"
Yeah.
And they're coming up with nothing, and it's hilarious. So fuck them.
Yeah.
But, there goes our explicit warning label on Apple Podcast. But and Maynard can't define it. And then he says, I can't even define generation.
Yeah. And so like then that is a segue into now they're back at Dobie's home. It's Dobie's house, right?
Yep.
And oh my God, which one? So I can't remember which one of them is accusing they are the way they are now because they're parents.
Yeah.
Is it Dobie that's making that argument?
Yeah. And then Dobie says, think of your father. What is your father like? And then Maynard says, my dad cries every time he sees me.
Yeah. But like, so now Dobie is making the argument that our parents have essentially turned us into pets. Like they wanted us to have all these advantages. They wanted to protect us from the world and they've like really sheltered us. And now we're not like ready to write essays like this and actually go out into the world. Yeah. To which I'm like, yeah, boomers. That's what you also did to us.
It's the way he puts it. I thought it was really good. I wrote it down. Parents want to protect us and treat us like kids until they tell us to grow up.
Yeah.
Which is, this is a deep episode of Dobie Gillis.
Yeah. Which I think about this all the time about how like as an elder millennial, or an old millennial, I don't really fucking care. It's all bullshit anyway. But like I grew up at a time in the 90s and stuff where, where everyone gripes about the participation trophies and honorable mention and whatnot. And we don't talk about the fact that it's the boomer generation that came up with all that stuff.
Yeah.
The kids weren't giving themselves participation trophies. It's the boomers like Dobie who were like, well, the kids obviously we need to protect them. So like they were perpetuating this thing that apparently they also felt. But I also agree with like, yeah, when I graduated college and then 2 years later, the recession hit. And it's like, I spent my entire life being told, follow your dreams. Don't chase your passions, be artistic, etc. And then all this happens. Like I have no skills. Because I was encouraged. Yeah. Well, I shouldn't have been encouraged. So yeah, it's all this.
But I mean, back in the day too, I do feel like there was a little less flexibility in that you would have a career and you would probably stay at that career or be able to stay at that career. Like my dad's taught at the same school for his entire adult life.
Yeah.
My mom pretty much stayed in the same district. She did change jobs, but this was a time where you couldn't just be like, I'm going to freelance here and then I'm going to get a job. But I don't really like this company, so I'm going to bop off or I'm going to try something new. Like, I don't know how much that happened.
No, I mean, because so like the next scene, now they're back outside of the school,
Yep.
and that ties into this because the professor comes along, Mr.
Pomfret.
Whatever, Pomfret comes along, and he just like every time he says work, like what are you going to do for work, like etc. Maynard yelps, like he has a visible like like
That was his
reaction
shtick.
to yeah
Every episode he did that. Work.
work
Very
and
shaggy.
then
Very shaggy.
yes, but then like when they're talking then about their post high school plans, and they just matter of factly say, well, we'll probably get drafted. And that was where like the record scratch like is just like that is just such a foreign concept. Just like how their life plans, their outlook embedded in like, well, obviously we'll probably get drafted and then we'll blah. And it's just like, I can't, it's just such.
Did you sign up for the selective service when you turned 18?
No.
I did.
I believe that they would call me. Because I remember like all of us talking about that when we all turned 18 of like, when they're fucking like the army's going to start calling you, and I would always hang up or whatever.
It wasn't like a join the army ROTC thing. It was, you just have to like sign up with the government to be like, look, I am a person that is now 18 in case they reinstate the draft or something like that.
Maybe I did. I don't know.
And my dad was the one who said, this is something you have to do. It wasn't, Sergeant Rocco calling up and being like, hey, I heard you're turning 17. Have you heard about the army? It wasn't one of those.
Very weird job for an adult to have. I call a bunch of 17-year-olds and ask them if they want to come hang out at my base.
Nope. But yeah, I signed up for it now. And for a long time, it still weirded me out that it was a possibility. Like,
oh yeah, that's
very remote because the draft wasn't a thing anymore, but it was all volunteer army, but it's still. And then when I finally became a minister through the Spiritualist Church, and which is a real church. It's not like Universal Life Church or something. And like I spent 4 years training for it and a whole bunch of classes and things like that. But there was a relief. Like I'm like, oh, now I can't get drafted because I am clergy.
Oh, I didn't know that was a rule.
Yeah. Now I could volunteer to be a chaplain.
Yeah.
And anyone can be a chaplain, but clergy member can be a chaplain no matter what you believe.
What is wild? So 30 years ago, this would mean I couldn't go into the army.
Yeah.
But 80 years ago, this meant that I'm going overseas to entertain the troops, literally like right off the front lines.
Literally, this is the army.
Yes. So think about that. Republican. Oh God. But yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of research into how homosexuals were treated in World War II. It's very fascinating. But then they're also like, we'll come back, we'll do college. And then Mr. Pomfret's like, well, that isn't just you're saying like that's easy, but like there are 10 kids to every seat in college, to which Maynard is like, oh, that sounds.
How do they get comfortable?
Oh, yeah. So, but then Maynard's just like, I just want to stay in high school. We could move somewhere else.
Change your name.
Over. Yeah.
Start over at a new high school. Keep flunking. So yeah, it's a very real scene. It is them wrestling with growing up. It is wrestling with the opportunities that are available to them. And Maynard even said, "Oh, we'll do the army, and then we'll get a pension the rest of his life." And someone says, "You're not going to get a pension if you only, for only one hitch."
Yeah. So then they go to Dobie's dad's store. Yep. Because Maynard's like, well, he puts like a quarter in a fortune teller thing.
Yeah, he's like,
it tells you you're
waiting the future, but this guy can tell the future. It's a fortune telling machine.
But then, so he grabs a teen magazine. There's a really funny bit. So like he grabs a teen magazine. Someone's written in saying like they want Elvis for president.
Yeah.
And so then Maynard is like, maybe I'll go into politics, and gives like a little bit of a political speech. He does cite inflation, Russia and China as the main problems. And it's like, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
We're still there.
Still there. Oh
Russia,
boy.
China, and inflation.
Yeah. But and
And
then there was a really good joke. Maybe the funniest joke of the entire episode is when he's like looking at the magazine rack and he's like, look at all these adventure magazines. I was 4 inches from death. I
no,
was
it
three.
was it was it was I was 3 feet from danger. And then he looks at the next one and it's like, I was 1.5 feet from danger. And he gets all the way to the bottom, and I was 7.75 inches away from danger. And the last one is, I'm dead.
Yeah. Which is a really funny little bit. And that's the entire scene in the dad's shop. Now they're back outside. Now they're talking about like marriage and girls, and it is telling, I don't know, that Maynard is just like, I'm not gonna get a girl.
And it's okay to be asexual, and that was not a thing that they were ready to talk about.
Not at all. But then they have this argument about like who's more lovable, etc.
Yeah, it was a nice conversation. And this was again on the back lot. They're once again walking just their legs on this platform. And they're talking about who's more lovable. And they Maynard's like, no one loves me. And he goes, no, your parents love you. I love you.
Yes.
Like really, really sweet for two, high school seniors to say that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And well, then like Maynard is like, well, you've been tricked. Like he has some sort of really cynical like take on that, which is like, man, therapy should be more of a thing back then. But no, okay. Then they're back. They're back in the classroom.
They're back in the classroom, and it's the time. Did you have commercials? Because I watched it on the Roku channel. I didn't have commercials.
Oh yeah, I had commercials on Freevee.
I
don't know what they were though, because I was running around in between when commercials hit.
All of these episodes are available on the Roku channel and Freevee, all 4 seasons.
So then they had to reveal a surprise. They have to read these essays out loud in front of the class, which is like, oh god.
250 words though. I mean, that's like, a minute and a half.
I guess just the embarrassment.
Yeah.
Of having to do like a grade school activity. So then of course Ms. Milhauser is just like, she's all about the fellas. She's like, where are the men at? Where are the men at? Etc.
Yeah.
Been there, sister.
And Maynard has written an essay. Maynard has written an essay, and it really is, he starts off saying, when I think about writing this episode or writing this essay, I think about when I was back in my backyard pre-fort with my dog Spot. And he says his best dog, love that dog. And then it's an illustrated gag of the dog ate my homework, because he moves to the next page and the page is all chewed up.
When he's like, my dog who chews everything up, and then including this, like, yeah, so that's but I mean, he did really write an essay, I guess.
He wrote an essay.
Also, 250 words that goes on multiple pages. How big of print are you writing in? Jeez, I don't know.
You're probably writing in cursive, because it's the 60s.
So then Dobie is like, bitch, I don't have an essay. Shove it.
He says it more diplomatically.
Yeah. Well, he says, yeah. He accidentally gives a verbal essay where he's like, we're not supposed to know. Like, I don't know. Like, how could I know? You're like, we're not even supposed to know what the future is. I'm confused. Like, the future has me confused, but I'm not frightened of it. Like, it's this. Oh, and he talks about this nest of robins extemporaneously, this metaphor of watching a nest of robins, and the mother comes and gives them worms for the little ones, but then one day she doesn't come and bring a worm, she pushes them out of the nest and they have to fly. And it's like, that's I'm gonna fly. Like, I don't know what it's gonna be, but I'm gonna do it.
He says that he even says, look at everybody else who grew up. It's like everybody else has grown up. Not everybody had to necessarily had the luxury of being able to plan and look forward, but everybody who grew up, that's the thing they have in common. They grew up. Yeah. So I thought it was really cool. It was the whole episode is just really philosophically written and very well done.
Yes. And that, I mean, like, Also, the fact that the teacher learned something, like, which is he says it by like, I'm going to give you an A, and also I'm giving myself an A because, which is a weird transition. But he's like, I don't want anyone here to be cocky, but I want all of you to have that quiet confidence. And like, I'm proud that you all know the future isn't going to be easy, but you're like ready to, but you're not afraid of it, etc. And then there's this, hey, teach, you want to come to the malt shop with us? And he goes, they buy him a drink at the malt shop.
Yeah, it had that like end of season feel.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, this is halfway through the season. Like, what is the next episode?
or end of, or like finale of the show kind of feel.
Well, and then then there's a post credit, or there's like a pre credits kind of little stinger thing where like the kids are causing mischief in the class. Maynard puts on the teacher's glasses because he isn't in there. He impersonates him for a little bit, and then they come in. The teacher comes in and he's like, hey, where's your homework? And Maynard's like, I want an A for not doing my homework like Dobie. And then you're not getting an A, B, a C, a D, you're getting warm. Like, that's so probably like the hardest joke in the episode.
I don't think that the stinger really added or subtracted anything. It was just kind of like a time filler. But from like up until that point, it was just, I don't know. I hadn't seen these characters interact since I was like a little kid. And just to come back to it and just be like hit with this wave of philosophy and coming to terms with aging and growing up and expectations and all the shit that we still have to go through now. Like, it was an episode that really hit me.
Yes, I agree. It's a good, nice midlife crisis episode, I guess. Relevant if you're 18 or 38 or
43 starting tomorrow.
Yay, we're all doing great. And then
I'm 43 starting tomorrow.
Yeah, you still got one more night. You gotta do it up, man. Get out your list of what you wanted to accomplish by.
No, I'm putting comics in bags.
Yeah. Ooh.
And watching some 5 minutes to live found footage videos.
Oh man, I will be editing drag photos probably. Okay, now I'm trying to using a glove while being on a computer. Are you ready for some must-have facts?
Oh yeah.
About 23 million people watched Dobie Gillis this season.
That's a lot.
But it was the 23rd most watched show of the season, because that's how things were back then. The top 5 shows of the 60 to 61 season were: number 5, The Real McCoys; number 4, Andy Griffith; number 3, Have Gun Will Travel; number 2, Wagon Train; and number 1, Gunsmoke. We've got a problem with Westerns. Got to get them off the TV.
I really wish that there was is there a podcast that talks about old Westerns like that? They really have fallen off the cultural radar in a way that
be fascinating.
It's a way that like one day the dinosaurs are there and the next day they're gone and no one's talking about the dinosaurs.
Yeah, just absolutely. It is interesting. And I do, there has to be a difference between Have Gun Will Travel, Wagon Train, and Gunsmoke.
Right.
And I know Gunsmoke and Bonanza, because those are the 2 that were rerun and my grandmother would watch them.
Yeah.
But it is wild how many there were. And it's like
how they've vanished.
Justify your existence.
They're like the lost tribes of Israel. They're just like
Dunzo.
Done.
The CBS Tuesday night lineup that Dobie Gillis aired as part of was Father Knows Best, followed by The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis, followed by The Tom Ewell Show, The Red Skelton Show, and The Gary Moore Show. So there's that. The Gary Moore Show is where Carol Burnett got her start.
Oh.
But, that's a weird... I mean, honestly, Father Knows Best, followed by Dobie Gillis is some whiplash.
Yeah. Well, because considering the episode of Father Knows Best that we watched, which was also as maudlin as this one.
Yeah. Maybe that night it was like, oh, finally, these are on the same page. But in a way, it feels like Dobie Gillis exists in reaction to Father Knows Best, like in reaction to those kind of shows.
It's good comedy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little, flavored with the times. The jokes are not as, I think, the same whip smart as they are today. That's just my own personal bias. I think it was funny. I thought it was really well written. I've said it like 12 times already.
Yeah. So what are you watching on this night on ABC? They're airing a Wyatt Earp episode, Terror in the Desert. A woman tells Wyatt her husband has been framed on a theft charge. Wow. And then on CBS, Dobie Gillis is airing The Big Question. Dobie and Maynard have to write an essay. And then on NBC, Alfred Hitchcock Presents A Crime for Mothers is airing, starring Claire Trevor. A woman claims her daughter from the child's foster parents. What are you watching?
Those are 3 terrible descriptions. My
God.
I
mean, I'm assuming I watch Dobie Gillis every week, so I'm probably watching that. I'll tell you, though, if that Alfred Hitchcock description had not just read like a to-do list, I don't know. Maybe I would have watched that, but not that description.
Yeah, I wouldn't. As tempting as Alfred Hitchcock is, I don't know. I did watch 1 or 2 episodes of Alfred Hitchcock Presents, and it was just like murder. It was just like murder.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I used to think that it was all monsters and shit, like Twilight Zone. But no, it's just like an hour, it's like a 30-minute drama. It's like a murder or a robbery. Maybe there's a little bitty twist at the end. I've watched a lot of them. They're fun.
I remember watching it in college. It was like 3 a.m, and we were all like, it was a party was ending, and we we're just watching whatever's on TV. I remember there are 2 people who were fighting on the edge of a cliff, and at one point their shadows hit the back splash. So I'm like, oh, we can see the shadows on the mountain in the back.
Turning those out. On IMDb, 41 Gillis files gave this episode an 8.1. Would you go higher or lower?
I think 8 is that dividing line between everybody votes for things up to 8, and if it gets past 8, that's a choice episode. It's one of the better episodes. So I would say that this is definitely rates an 8.1. I
would go 8.6 or 7.
Oh yeah, I might bring it up there too.
I think just because I think that it is a little bit more it's a little more avant-garde, and I think is incredibly avant-garde for 1961.
Right.
I think that if you have in your mind an idea of what TV was like in 1961, then you watch this and be ready to pick your brain up off the floor. And also, if you are a Family Affair fan, and doesn't even have to be a funny episode, just a good episode, just like an episode that we would enjoy, let us know.
Yeah, I don't even care what it is. It could be like the funniest episode of the show. It could be like the one where they introduce a new character. Maybe someone else dies.
No, pilot.
No, not someone else dies. We don't want to see.
Bonus points if Brian Keith is shirtless.
Or he says something like "God damn."
Yeah, which he wanted to say every line all day, every day with those kids. God damn, what am I? Get all my scenes shot in a day, please. Who had the must-see performance in this episode?
Everyone is probably going to say Maynard G. Krebs, Bob Denver. I'm going to go with Dobie because I think Dobie was just this font of wisdom, where he was setting up like all these like truisms and really like insightful things that Maynard was reacting to, and he's doing some shtick, he's making it funny, but the one who has like the really choice lines, the deep lines, and the monologue at the end is Dobie.
I see that too. It's a higher degree of difficulty, definitely, because Maynard can get by on having all the jokes, and Dobie has got to like get into some deep shit.
Well, we just saw Phil Silver's show last episode, and people will remember that, be like, oh, that's the one with Doberman, right? Private Doberman. People still remember that. It came up when I was telling people that we were doing the episode. And Dobie Gillis, Maynard G. Krebs, is still one of those characters that people remember and are familiar with. Which
it's like how people called Family Matters Urkel.
Yeah.
Like it's not Urkel wasn't even in the first season.
There's shows that have those kind of standout characters that you don't remember. I don't remember. I barely remember what David Spade's character was on Just Shoot Me.
Oh, Finch.
Finch. Yeah, I remember.
Or is it Charlie on Empty Nest?
Who?
The neighbor.
Who?
He was the neighbor on Empty Nest.
Who was?
I can't remember the actor's name.
Yeah.
But he was one of those, like, I liked watching Empty Nest because, oh, that guy.
So people liked watching Bob Denver's Maynard G. Krebs. They were allowed to flirt with the beatnik scene a little bit by Maynard G. Krebs. He had a beard.
Oh, and that is a big running thing in the episode too. Is just like the beard.
Beards on TV? Who had?
Oh my god!
No, like, yeah, you'd have like mountain men or like homeless people, but like no one had beards on TV.
And now look at us. We have a lady with a mustache on this very show. And must other people see this episode?
Yeah.
I already said it'll leave your brain on the floor.
It's great. It makes me want to watch more Dobie Gillis.
Worth it, yes.
It's the show is good.
I'm also interested, like, because it also seems like they were dabbling with long-term serial storytelling.
Yeah.
Like the characters actually did like grow and evolve and go places.
I think it's when you kind of like handcuff your show being like, oh, they're high school seniors. You're like, well, they can't be high school seniors forever.
No, yeah. That's why I'm like, man, it's season 2 and they're already seniors. Yeah. Like, oh my god, you're running out of a runway here. You know, that's why I'm always baffled when like high school shows that start like that 70s show. Why did they start in 1977? You started in 1970. Give yourself 10 years instead of like you're only going to be relevant for 3 more years. Or like high school shows that's like, well, we're all juniors and it's season 1, and it's like, cool, great. What are you going to be doing in season 5? Like, you're making it hard on yourself. Start as freshmen.
You get the chance, like Saved by the Bell, to lose some cast members while they go to college.
Yeah, save some money.
Save some money.
Great. Well, that is the many loves of Dobie Gillis. Oh,
fun. I liked it. It was such a fun episode.
Very fun. Ethan, what did we do at this point? I'm trying to scroll back up, but I have to lick my fingers.
Well, there's the people we have to thank. There's the
yes.
The stuff. Where can we find each other? What are we doing next? Next week is our next show. Hopefully we can get back into a little bit more of a groove. Things have been a little kind of crazy. I switched jobs.
Oh yeah,
that's been kind of fun. So it's a whole new day of school kind of feel. I think I said that in a previous episode because I switched jobs back in like July. I keep switching jobs.
I mean, between me and my husband have been on like 4 different insurances over the past year. It's been, he just started his new job. Good. So lots of things. But where can people find you on the internet if they want to talk to you about Dobie?
Check me out on EthanK55 at Instagram. I no longer respond to Twitter, and I have a Tumblr, but Tumblr is poison.
Oh no, what happened to Tumblr now?
Oh, it's always been a hell site. I love it.
Oh yeah,
Tumblr's my favorite.
It's chaos.
Yeah, it's controlled chaos, and I absolutely love it. But don't look me up on Tumblr because you're just gonna see memes.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm just marveling at how beautiful I am. The wild thing is I hate my shoulders as a man. Like you will never fucking catch me in a tank top. Let's just be honest.
Never. I've never seen you in a tank top.
Absolutely never. Nothing sleeveless. Literally ever. I'm either shirtless or you're wearing a shirt. But in drag, I'm like, let me show off. I don't know. It's
those shoulders.
Makes me feel very
and
fun.
That necklace.
Yes. Very groovy, which is what we'll be doing next week, something groovy because it'll be the 70s, and I got to get some got to order some funky jewelry for this.
What's a good it's hard to find a bad 70s sitcom. There are bad 70s sitcoms and good 70s.
Yeah, Brady Bunch, bitch, we're doing it. We'll see. And you can find me on Instagram at Barb Hardley, and also TikTok at Barb Hardley, where I am been posting some gay history videos because I think that's my new shtick as a drag queen, is I will get to drag and then make a video teaching you something about gay history. I've done 3 videos about This is the Army and World War II. So please watch, please share. Seriously. And then if you're just a fan of me as a human male, you can follow at Brett White.
Is it the gay must remember this?
Oh, yes.
Is it like, gay history told in a sequential format?
Yeah, that's the vibe. And it's fun and it's a passion, and keep history alive, people.
Yeah.
And it gives me a reason to spend a lot of time doing this. This is a lot of work. Oh,
I'm glad you're having fun with it, though.
Yeah, you got to do something. And hopefully at some point we'll be able to figure out how to do this live. That'll be
one day.
Fun. One day. One sweet day. But yeah, thanks to Acast for hosting the podcast. Thanks to everybody for listening. Please rate and review the podcast literally everywhere, or just talk to us. Please email musthaveseen.tv@gmail.com. Add us on Twitter. Slide into the DMs. Please do anything. Let us know that you're out there, and we'll holler at you later. Bye, darlings.
Bye.
Mwah. Okay. And I'll hit. Oh God. How do I stop? Ah.